Welcome, everyone. I'd like to call the committee of the whole for December 15th, 2025 to order at 5:32 p.m. I would like to call on Councillor Justin Feeblecorn for land acknowledgement, please.
Yes, so I'd like to acknowledge that the rural municipality of St. Andrews is located on Treaty One territory, the traditional lands of the Anishinaabe, Cree, Dakota, and Dene peoples, and the national homeland of the Red River Métis. We respect the spirit and intent of treaties and treaty making and remain committed to working in partnership with First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people in the spirit of truth, reconciliation, and collaboration.
Thank you. Item 3, adoption of agenda. Motion to adopt the agenda as presented. Could I have a mover, please? Councillor Dornbos, seconder. Councillor Feeblecorn, all those in favor? That is unanimous. It is carried. Reception of delegations. Welcome, Sergeant Bilodeau. You're here replacing Superintendent Lambert.
Inspector, yes.
Oh, Inspector. Yeah, get all your names there. On the Q2 and Q3 reports, which we have attached to our schedule. So please proceed.
Do you have specific questions or you want me to go over?
Usually he runs through what the higher ones are, but we've got it all on our, we've gotten all the reports on our agenda for last quarter and this quarter. Usually is there any big, change in numbers that you could say why there are a big change in numbers?
No, we're pretty much in line with the numbers we had last year. For Q2, we're still working on enhancing road safety. The target of IRS driving behavior bank is increasing the numbers of tickets issued by 5%. I'm sure he's discussed it with you, but because of our vacancies and the amount of members we have, we're having to prioritize, unfortunately, other things than traffic enforcement. Planning is underway for a number of initiatives that are tied to road safety. We're sending members to training on courses. We're waiting for people to come in, etc. For Q2, for the numbers.
Because I know provincial traffic charges in 2024 were 231. This year's only 152.
Correct.
I'm one of the 152.
Oops.
Is that because the shortage of members?
Because we're short. The members are busy going to priority calls and they don't have the time we need them to put into traffic enforcement, unfortunately. But it's something we're working on remedying, but it's the fight we all have on our hands right now, unfortunately.
I remember when that been.
I mean, our fatal collisions for the RM has gone up, unfortunately. The injuries are a bit steady. That's steady. The liquor charges, the intoxicated, Persons Detection Act has risen by 2, just calls about persons intoxicated need removed from public areas. The numbers are pretty much on par for last year to this year. There's not a huge difference. We've had a pretty good spike in property theft. We're working on projects with our GIS unit, General Investigation Unit, to do some projects and hopefully get some of those guys. They're coming out of Winnipeg and hitting rural communities, which makes it very hard for us to find and locate. But businesses are helping us out with some cameras and some CCTV, and hopefully we can be out here a little bit more. But the property has definitely spiked. Inspector Lambert made a note on here that unfortunately the property theft rose because of unlocked vehicles. People will drive around and just, yes, sorry.
Oh, sorry, didn't cut you off. For these thefts, in terms of the RM as a whole, is this mostly being targeted in the northern part, the rural part of the RM, or is this happening throughout the entire?
It's everywhere.
Yeah.
It's everywhere. I think they're starting to find out that there's not a lot of cameras at St. Andrews Airport and other areas, and they go when there's no light. They started hitting community like lots and stuff like that. So it's everywhere, unfortunately. They'll go around and look for locked doors, and if it's not locked, then they'll go in and they'll just rummage and take what they want, unfortunately. And so there's an education piece definitely for the public to lock up. Unfortunately, it's not like it was 10 years ago. We have to lock up our stuff.
Specifically, how's St. Andrews Airport?
Pardon me?
Specifically, how's St. Andrews Airport in terms of, I guess, crime there?
Well, we're getting the hit and runs. We're getting the alcohol and the drugs at the airport because they're going on the in the inland communities.
Mhm.
So unfortunately, that comes into our stats because we respond to them. We're seeing businesses that, like footsteps around buildings in the snow where there shouldn't be any. Like they're looking for open doors, right? So we're seeing more traffic in there,
Mhm.
pedestrian or with vehicles, but unfortunately, there's not a lot of cameras out there yet. I don't think it's something we have to start educating them more about.
Well, Deputy Mayor Murphy and Councillor Dornbos are on the airport board, and there was talk about security camera. Were they putting up?
There are security cameras there. If you just go to the office, you can, they keep tapes on record. So that could be a source of information for you folks.
Where exactly is the camera? Like at the entrance of the airport?
Well, there's several of them there.
Because just for example, Northway, they have their own cameras pointing at like their gas,
That's
their
right, yeah.
fuel, but none of the vehicles. So people go through the vehicles or they'll scratch them or go through them or smash windows and empty them out, and they don't have a camera pointing that way.
Mhm.
So
Well,
it's,
the good thing about St. Andrews Airport, there's only one way in and one way out. And there's cameras there,
so who would have to speak to get that footage?
that would be the airport manager, Zach Bolden.
Zach, who, sorry?
Holden.
Okay, I'll make a note of it and we'll look into it further. For the rest of Q2, it's, like I said, the spike is in property crime. Other than that, it's pretty steady from last year. You guys have any specific questions about Q2?
Council members, any questions?
No, just one more. 67 and number 8 highway, the intersection there. There's been many fatal crashes at that intersection, and I guess kudos to you folks because after the last crash there, which happened a few weeks ago, I noticed that you had patrol vehicles sitting about 3/4 of a mile west or south and north of the highway. I guess what you were doing is you were monitoring the intersection for people running the stop signs and whatnot. So
Yeah, it's a
That was
huge
good.
cause of accidents. People just look through the stop sign, even though they think they can see. It's just too many fatalities, unfortunately.
Well, the province is aware. They knew about that last bad accident there a couple weekends ago. They're gonna be in touch with council, that's all I know. They're gonna call me, I'll relay the info to council, they're relooking at, their engineers are looking at what can be done. Cause they put all that money into,
Right.
it's people driving.
Absolutely. We had a 12-year-old injured last weekend. The lady completely ignored the rumble strips and the stop sign and the giant flashing lights and just hit the vehicle.
Yeah, I saw someone just go right through, like just.
I don't think we could make it more obvious, but obviously it's an end user issue at that point.
Yeah. Okay, any other questions on Q2 by anyone?
I just have some comments about Q3.
Yes, sir.
Is there anything in sight for hiring 7 more members so we can have a full complement at the RCMP detachment in Selkirk?
Not for lack of trying. We do have some members incoming. We've been accepting cadets. We're hoping for lateral transfers. Of our new staff sergeant should be here in February, and there's been members identified to backfill our 9 vacant positions. There's a lot of vacancies, unfortunately, some of them are, soft vacancies, members on paternity leave and maternity leave, and that's just out of our control, unfortunately. We are trying, we're not saying no to anybody, obviously. Like I said, they've offered us 2 cadets, so we'll take them and we'll train them and
Yeah.
we're actively asking. But everybody else is asking too, so it's, yeah.
Councilor Pivoy.
Can you elaborate? Is this a cadet program that's being started? Like how they do
Cadets out of
in
depot.
Winnipeg?
No,
Or-
the cadets
oh,
from
sorry,
depot.
I see what you're saying.
Sorry, before the, our training, we're cadets during training, and then
Okay.
once we get hired, we
Okay,
become
sorry, I was
responsible.
confusing it with.
No, I mean the
Yeah.
academy in Regina.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes,
And I know at the AMN, we advocated as a group for the road safety
Mhm.
in St. Andrews, so it's kind of disappointing to see, you know, quite a few less tickets than the previous year.
I agree.
Another thing is possession of stolen property from 1 to 11 seems kind of drastic, as well as the drugs 2 versus 5 and the B&Es 1 versus 5. So those are kind of my areas of concern, because some of those things were brought up to the RCMP panel at the AMN. So we sure would like some help in those areas, so to
Yeah, I
make our
understand
community
that.
safer.
I understand that. We're, like I said, we're building some projects with GIS. Hopefully we can target some offenders and keep a closer eye on them and
Yeah.
hopefully, when we get lucky, we catch some groups and we can take down a few of them at a time. It's rings of them. It's, uphill battle
Yeah,
assume it's all drugs too. A lot of it's drugs.
a lot of the time.
Yeah.
But I mean, they steal a lot of tools and there's a market for it with pawning and reselling, and they ship them out of the province and
Mhm.
whatever they can get their hands on. They ransacked the East St. Paul warehouse yesterday, early this morning.
Their public works building?
Yeah.
Yeah. Counselor Sliker is on Zoom. Do you have any questions, Counselor Sliker? Okay. Well, thank you so much.
No problem. Do you guys have any more questions?
Thanks
No.
for coming. Yeah,
Absolutely,
thank you.
anytime.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you guys too.
And thanks for filling in. I know if you would have just left, you know, that's kind of difficult. Oh, you did wonderful. Thank you.
I'm used to it. Get left notes behind and I look at the stats daily from an operational standpoint, so not all foreign. If you guys have any questions, please reach out. We'll give you as many answers as
Wonderful.
that we have.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Good.
Okay, next we have Justin Stanchena for about municipal asset management report.
How would you guys like me to join and present?
Do you need to share anything? We
Yeah,
asked you to do it through Zoom, so if you could join the Zoom call. And do you need to plug in at all? Sometimes.
Power?
Yeah, just for power. I have this plugged in into the desk here if you need power. Otherwise, I'll let you in and then you can
Present to Zoom?
share. Yeah.
Recording in progress.
Show off. Screen, I suppose. Hopefully. Green, so yeah, sorry. Thanks for waiting while I got that working. Yeah, and thanks for having me, Brent, and the asset management team.
Yeah, Brent's not here today. He's not feeling well. I think he got flu.
It's going around pretty good.
I know, I over it.
Yeah, he wanted me to come and present a little bit on the asset management program at St. Clements. I'm Justin Sinchena. I've kind of been the GIS consultant here for quite a few years, and then recently expanded into asset management, and we're helping out partnering with St. Andrews to do to help with the asset management program. We kind of started this last year, 2025. And what I wanted to present and kind of go over was a little bit of context about municipal asset management and kind of why federal government's looking at it, province is pushing it. A little bit about asset management principles and stuff like that, and then kind of how we're tackling it, because I'm not sure the baseline knowledge of asset management as a principle, or the knowledge of, I know they came and presented a little bit about signage data and stuff like that recently as well, or the asset management, Braden and Brent, that was. But I wanted to give my little 15-minute presentation on it. Yeah, just kind of like what and why. And AMM would have had quite a few asset management.
Has anyone gone on the asset management programs or familiar with it? It's legislated, I believe. I mean, I remember being a counselor when this started.
Yeah, it's.
We're way behind, it seems, but I think a lot are.
Yeah, I wouldn't say you're any more else really.
Oh,
I mean, Selkirk's kind of leading the asset management field in Manitoba for a bit, so you're pretty on par with most other municipalities.
okay.
Yeah, AMM's probably put out an asset management course every time they met.
Yeah,
So
like the breakout sessions.
Okay, so most of council, you have an idea on it.
Yeah, even PSAB and some of the early accounting stuff is like early steps of asset management as well. So it's been pressure applied and been advancing for a while. But I'll go through and then.
Okay, you do your thing, sure.
So one of the things I kind of wanted to outline is, because it is being pushed federally and provincially. If you look to Ontario, it's actually legislated in Ontario. It's regulated. Every municipality has to have an asset management program. And kind of that's what the province and the federal government wants, is they want municipalities thinking in asset management terms. They want you thinking long-term about your assets over 50-year lifespans, all that kind of stuff. That's when they're talking sustainability. Part of it's green sustainability, but part of it is just long-term financial sustainability. That's really what they're getting at. Asset management principles is kind of like the governing framework of how they want everyone operating. Kind of a local context, it's a quick couple big newspaper items that you've seen. City of Winnipeg's a good use case of where asset management, if it had been done over the last long term, would have been beneficial. So much of their big capital infrastructure, like sewer and water, is 100 years old. And asset management principles weren't a thing back then. But really, that's what's getting the federal government, which government's attention is, when you look at the Canadian infrastructure report card, and that's the report card showing things like this, that Canada's in a big infrastructure deficit. Winnipeg might be a use case example because they peaked back in like the 1910s. But other big cities like Calgary, everywhere is going to hit the same peak and have to fund that infrastructure, all that big price tag stuff, as the lifespan of those assets come through. Now, we're not nearly big city level question. But even in that context of the Canadian infrastructure report card, I think it's something like 60-something% of infrastructure in Canada is municipally owned and operated. So when they put out their big report card, they have to collect all this data from every municipality. I don't know what they really collect from the smaller municipalities. So that's why they're really putting this standardized framework into everybody's toolkit. Because they don't like the trends that they're seeing across Canada long term. That's why federal government's pushing for it, provincial government's pushing for it. Part of it is the mentality of that municipalities are there to provide services to residents. A few things in this, as I'll go through, is very asset management terminology. I'll try and explain them and stuff like that. But one of the fun things is that ISO standard that I'm talking about there. It's actually for every asset management piece. So whether you run a factory or an airport or a municipality, it's the same asset management ISO principles. So some of the terminology is very not specifically to government or municipalities. But when we bring it into the municipal context, the way they think of it is the municipality is there to provide services to the residents. And those services require infrastructure, your water and sewer lines, your road network, all those big capital items. So some of the components of it is your inventory of assets. So know what you own, know where they are, have your listing of all that, knowing the condition of it, what state are they in. The hallmark probably that everyone will like the most of asset management is the big life cycle planning part of it. That's where you see the big graphs with the 50-year lifespan, trying to maximize your investment. I'm only doing like a 15-minute overview here, but even in that, there'll be little cycles of how you're supposed to track the asset. That's all kind of dictated by the big international standards. And like I said, Manitoba as a whole probably is a little behind on it. Other provinces are ahead, but that's why we're progressing here. Risk management is another big part of it. I see that especially the next two items, risk management, service levels. I see that being quite a bit of what we talk to council about. So I don't think risk management has been one thing that's really reached it to council level that much. That's just also my opinion. Service levels is really the big thing that's supposed to reach council level decision making as well. So that's where really council sets the level of service they expect to be maintained in a municipality. So for road networks or sewer lines, that's things like we don't want more than 2 sewer breaks a year or something like that. And all these different metrics and different data points, that's when we get the service levels, once we have some of the data in place, that's when we'll be probably more approaching council and having some more in-depth sessions. And we've kind of categorized them into different service areas. This is the more municipal context, like transportation, utility, parks and recreation, land facilities, your fleet and IT. Those are really supporting other operations, but this is just an example of how you break out the different categories or service areas, if I'm using asset management lingo. And you can notice they do kind of line up with municipal departments, roughly. But those are different service groups that you're providing to the residents. Like one good example to think in this aspect, or to break down a little bit. In the States, there's a lot of really small utilities, municipal level, where you're just providing electricity to one county or something like that. So if you're on the board of that electricity utility, and they'd be using the same ISO principles that that this is. If you're on the board of that one electrical utility, you're just providing one service to your customers. Municipality is quite a bit more complex because you're actually providing many, many different types of service with many, many different types of assets. So it is quite a few different parts to the puzzle here. And I'm sure this is one of the big things with asset management that's been sold quite a bit is it really is there. It's supposed to be there to allow you to provide better service, to deliver better services to your residents. To get you thinking about long-term financial sustainability. One of the kind of key deliverables of an asset management program will eventually be an asset management plan. So this is essentially a working document. Our infrastructure report card is kind of a beginner part of an asset management plan. But that plan is like a transparent document of communicating all the way through your organization. It's in front of you guys. It goes out to public. It really helps the whole decision-making process and how the assets are running, how the municipality is running, be a lot more transparent. And it's also designed to just get people talking about risks and get everyone understanding risks, all these kinds of different pieces. The plan will be the more fun part of asset management once we get it into your guys' hands to adjust and all that. As I said, this is kind of the life cycle analysis graph. This is kind of the main, or this would be where the wisest financial decisions would come from when you get this. When you have enough data to start generating these life cycle graphs, you can start making those choices of these roads should be replaced here. This is what we're aiming at to get in front of you. This isn't your municipality. Actually, I think that was even asset agnostic. It didn't actually show what that was graphing. So, I mean, this is kind of a pyramid, like the bulk of your work is on that bottom base layer of just understanding your assets, getting them inventoried, adding financial data to it. There's quite a bit of financial data there already. It's just linking it in an asset management fashion. And like I said, every municipality is currently managing their own assets. It's just maybe not in the structure of the international standards kind of dictates. A lot of what you're doing, since you're already managing your assets, a lot of what you're doing is in play in each department. It might not just be documented or formalized and probably not communicated up to council either. And that would all become part of the plan. As you can see on that graph too, like we kind of have to get the bottom prepared before we can start reaching higher on the pyramid. But one of the key parts too is all throughout this process, we can't just start with the data. We have to start expanding asset management as a concept to council, to managers, to lower level staff. That's kind of what I'm here chatting about, because that's actually a box we have to check with the province. The council has attended an asset management education session every year. Staff as well, we have to check that box on the provincial level. We're hoping this counts for them. So this is like your standard asset management risk graph that you'd see once we have the plan going. This is pretty nondescript because it just is on the bottom, your consequence of failure, left-hand side, your likelihood of failure. As we think about assets, you can plug that into sewer lines, roads, signage, anything like that. I kind of like changing the words a little bit to something like this, which is much more digestible when you're making decisions. And likewise, plug this into your sewer system and think of like, and the different assets, parts of your asset network. So think of the main lift station pump at your lift station. Once it's categorized, consequence of failure is pretty big. It would be a 5, as if that dies. You have, I don't know how long the lift station would hold.
I think right now it's the bright red, fixed now.
And the likelihood of failure,
It's failure.
yeah, I'm not an engineer, so I don't know. Well, actually, that would probably be based on age or however, whatever criteria we take.
Not working.
So yeah, don't run the lift station on a fix on failure scenario, right? That's a fix now thing. So if it fails, it has to fix.
It's never run properly.
Yeah, is it? Likewise, and this is why I liked collecting signage earlier, because it's a very easy data set. If you plug your transportation signage into this, a stop sign has a high consequence of failure. Likelihood of failure is probably the same for signage, but a stop sign is very much a fix now thing. If it breaks, you expect staff to fix it right away. A no parking sign, it's probably a consequence of failure really low. You're okay with staff going out and fixing it when they have the spare time. But this would be a graph that would be used to communicate from staff to you guys and from you guys to staff. You expect stop signs replaced as soon as they break, and that other types of assets aren't as critical. This is one of those common sense things that Public Works right now, I don't even know if they have a written policy for it, but of course they're gonna go place a stop sign before they replace that broken no parking sign. But this documents it, formalizes it. And when higher levels of government look at your municipality, they know that you're thinking about these things. They know that you don't have public works staff running up and replacing.
So this would work in hand with the service truck, because when you get a concern, you're supposed to fill a service truck, or it goes, that's all documented.
Yes, that would be something, part of asset management called performance monitoring. So if you say the fix it now category has to have a 4-hour fix it window from first report, that's what council dictates, the other expectation of staff. How you track that would be with the service tracker. As you could tell, staff went out and placed it the same day it was reported, which is probably what their current workflow is. Whereas a no parking sign, you'd probably the fix on failure and this one would probably be fixed when you have spare time. But take that same concept, but apply it across your different assets. Generator, your fire station, your apparatus number 6 at a fire hall, all these different assets. So I do like to look at it from different perspectives. Like the federal government's they're interested in, are you guys making headway in asset management? Are you looking at these different items? Council, you guys should have a plan in front of you eventually and clear direction to manage your services that you're delivering. Management should have a lot more reporting tools, a lot more data that they can serve up, so they can manage their departments better. And staff should have clear direction and expectations from higher ups. This is just an example, actually directly off the City of Winnipeg's asset management program. It's a bit small to read, but I do like how this is like a high level overall infrastructure report card for your own municipality. So they kind of show, and they have at the top a little report card rating that they give themselves in each category. Actually, they give themselves the worst mark in municipal properties on the far right, but has dollar value in there, and then it's kind of scaled to poor versus really good condition on different assets. They've actually made quite a lot of headway in their asset management program in the last dozens of years. So the way we're kind of, and this is just a crazy schematic of how asset management in a municipal environment kind of has all these different moving parts. The way St. Andrews is approaching it is they have partnered with us And we're kind of a staff augmentation, municipal shared services kind of model. So how we approach it is we provide the asset management coordinator, that's that key middle part where they're kind of like coordinating everything. And that coordinator in your guys' case is split amongst it's a third staff equivalency unit. So that's an asset management professional that has his time split between the municipalities that he's looking after. So it's not really run off of the side of somebody's desk. He is just focused on providing asset management coordinating services for each of the municipalities he's looking after. So in this case, because you have your public works team out there, the GIS team, which is kind of the main spot where we hold most of the spatial records of assets. So your water and sewer lines, we kind of break them out properly. And that's the GIS, by the way, is a geographic database. It's just a database of all your assets. The asset management lingo for that is your asset registry, if you've ever heard that term around. We've actually purchased the asset management software, which will come online in January. And there's all your policies and procedures. A lot of those you guys already passed. I don't know how many years ago it would have been that the strategy and policy would have been passed. It's probably up for a review. But that kind of dictates how the whole thing's going to operate. It's important to have a coordinator in the middle, just coordinating all the asset management efforts. That's where we're kind of coming in to help. So as you kind of saw, we separated into these different categories, and then the different asset management principles kind of come on the left there. This is just an example of how we'll be approaching it, kind of by service group first. And I think we've kind of prioritized transportation and utility data, as well as fleet data are kind of the top three that we're focusing on. And then we'll bring it up through the asset management maturity scale, from like just having your inventory, taking condition, life cycle, all that kind of stuff. We'll progress it category by category. And I've kind of checked box the whole bottom row because it never hurts to just have a listing of all your assets anyways. So if we're out and collecting things, we're probably collecting it for all assets. But that's kind of the strategy we're using. And that was my 15 minutes of asset management.
Well, thank you, council members. Does anybody have any questions?
I know, it's a great idea. It is certainly it's an important thing. Absolutely.
Yeah, when we think about the Calgary water main break last year that shut down the city, that was an asset management endeavor, right?
Yeah.
Should have been fixed probably a decade before that, so.
Yeah, and funny story with that one, because I was at the asset management conference this summer, and the guy from Calgary that was, I don't know if he's the CEO, but he was high up at Calgary and he was presenting about that water main break. And I think it was even whatever pipe it was, huge hammer pipe, they had no reserve pipes anywhere. From his presentation, he said it was the asset management coordinators network that supplied him with the replacement pipe. Like, if it failed, he sent an emergency SOS out on his professional network. And some county by Los Angeles said, we have a spare pipe, and loaded it on a truck. And yeah, other than that, I was waiting for.
Because it shut down Trans-Canada Highway and everything, so.
For the pipe delivery or for the.
No, when it happened.
Yeah. That's the highest level risk, or highest level of consequence on that metric. For one water main.
And it took I don't know, if I'm not mistaken, more than a week or 2 weeks to fix, so.
Yeah, your one water supply. Yeah, that's the plan eventually, when it's outlining risks and stuff like that. I think for your level of service that we'll eventually get to, there's a lot of regulations that are already in place, like water pressure goes below a certain level, you have to issue a water boiling advisory. You got to supply, your EMO department has to get involved, like in Calgary's case, distributing bottled water everywhere. So those are all different asset management pieces that get kind of stitched together. When your program's in a mature state.
Yes, well, thank you so much. Any other comments or questions by council?
Very good.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next item we have is the 5.1, the November 2025 monthly management reports, which are all attached. Does anybody have any questions or comments on the reports?
Good work. Almost everything is getting completed, so nice to see.
Yep, so thanks to all the management reports. 5.2, the November 30th financial statements. Gary's in the meeting. Does anybody have any questions? I have a question, Carrie.
Yeah.
Page 1 of 16, at the bottom, revenue gas tax. In the 2025 budget, it's 699,401, but the actual is 679,058. Now it was, we weren't getting gas tax until you filed your audited financial statements. So for what year is this?
That's actually for the current fiscal year for 2025. What they do is they give us a projection of what we're expected to receive. So when we did the budget in May, we didn't have those numbers yet. So we used the prior year amount, 2024 amount to budget from. This year, we got, probably it was around July or August that it was published. So I was able to go in MMO and pull off the amount that we would receive if we file our 2025 financial statements. So I accrued that as a receivable.
So we listened to the 2022 audit is coming up. So are we getting any money? Because back then, like you had to file before you got it. So they owe us around 600, whatever it is.
They owe us roughly around 1.2 or 1.3 million.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Oh, and one more.
But you had a couple more.
Page 15 or 16. Contribution to capital section. The last line, contribution to capital public works. The 2025 actual is 2.084 million. But in the budget, it's 1,094,000. Why is it so high compared to what we budgeted?
There's two reasons for that. The first reason was in the Public Works Department, there was a $402,000 greater. We are receiving some debt financing for that. That money has not come through yet, and it's not represented in the financial statements, so that would be reduced by that 402. Because we budget the net amount that we were spending, not the full amount. The second one, that's the second two that are different. We had our airport payout of 149,500. They requested that in June of this year after the financial plan was approved. So we passed a resolution for them to receive that additional amount. And the second part is in recreation and culture. There's $682,000 sitting there. At the end of the prior year of last year, we had received $866,000 of a grant towards the walking paths that were being done. We had not received any billings for any of that at that point. So what I reserved that money into a deferred account. So it's sitting there in deferred. I haven't recognized it into revenue yet because Teresa and I have not yet sat down, gone over what the actual amount of that grant we're recognizing this year and how much is being deferred until 2026, because I do believe that we have until March of 2026 to finish the trails. And then one more little component is there is $100,000 of money that we're receiving back for the intersection on Highway 44 and 9 that we did. We had agreement with MTI to do the work, and they were going to pay us back $100,000. We just submitted the request for those funds, so that also hasn't been reflected in the statements.
Okay, thank you. And then debt payments, next section. Actual is 3,247, but the budget is 1,172,000.
I can assure you all the debt payments have been made as of this point. The way we structure debt payments is that we don't post the principal portion into the expense side of it. The way they do the budgeting is the debt side of it, the principal side is recorded as an adjustment. So at year end, I was going to make adjustments to the entire statement for December to reflect the differences between the accounting and the actual cash basis. But when we go to audit, all those cash basis entries are going to be reversed to actuals anyways. So that's why they're not listed there.
Okay, thank you. That's a bit clearer. Thanks. Anybody else have any comments or questions? No? Okay, Simon, thank you for all your work, Carrie. We have no old business. Now we go in camera. Motion that council move in camera at 6:19 PM to discuss matters that are in preliminary stages and respecting which discussion in public could prejudice the municipality's ability to carry out its activities or negotiations, as well as legal and personnel issues. And be it further resolved that the members of council agreed to keep in confidence a matter that is discussed at a meeting that is closed to the public under subsection 152(3), and that the committee decides to keep confidential until the matter is discussed at a meeting of council or of a committee conducted in public. Could I have a mover, please? Councillor Dornbos, seconder. Deputy Mayor Marecki, all in favor? Unanimous, that is carried. We are now in camera. Thanks, everyone. Motion to move out of in camera at 6:31 PM. Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Dornbos.
I'll second it.
Okay, Councillor Slaker. All in favor?
All right.
Unanimous, that is carried. Next item, be it resolved, meeting be adjourned at 6:32 PM.
Resolution on camera?
We're in committee of the whole. Oh, yeah. We can't pass.
My fault.
That was my fault, my apologies. I told you to possibly have a resolution prepared. So if it could go on maybe it could go on the special meeting.
I think we can just, I mean, as long as council's okay with that, we can just make it. That's.
Yeah, and we won't need a resolution for that. Might be not $7,500.
If there's anything that moves further, then we'll.
Okay, they're on, yeah, we can't pass a resolution. So the next item is adjournment. Motion that council meeting be adjourned at 6:32 PM. Could I have a move? Councillor Dornbos, seconder, Councillor Feeblecorn, all those in favor?
Okay.
Unanimous, that is carried.